The CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, has made a ridiculous statement. Oh, Jesus. Okay. I'm already getting really excited because it actually happened a couple of weeks ago. She gave an interview to the Associated Press, which they've only published 3 minutes out of, and decided to write out a lot of other stuff, which is kind of weird on its own. But she said that she believes that GM will beat Tesla, completely outnumber Tesla in the number of electric vehicles they're going to make by the mid of this decade, which, is what, 2025. We're talking about 3 years from now. And I was thinking, wow, how delusional can she get? But then I started doing research, and obviously I had a little bit more time because there were bigger stories about Herbert Dees that unfortunately got fired. We'll talk about how this can maybe work out. But then I started thinking, you know what? I might give it a second thought, and I did. So we're going to talk about how maybe this is not as delusional as a lot of us might think. I will show you the interview, but I also have a great guest for you, Ryan from the Kilowatts. I don't know if you're familiar with him. You should be. He does actually a lot of reviews. He just recently reviewed one of the. I think he reviewed the Chevy Blazer EV. So he's going to be here, and that's definitely going to be a treat. And we're going to start right. Welcome to E4 Electric. If you are interested in everything that's going on in the world of electric cars, but most importantly, right here, we expose the truth behind the headlines in our niche. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. Now, the article that I'm talking, by the way, in the chat, don't forget to let me know where you're watching me from, and of course, what kind of EV you have, and we'll get the conversation going. Let's see. Oh, we already have an interesting chat here from Tony, who says Sandy Monroe is 100% correct. Tesla is going to be the only electric car maker by the year of 2028. Every other company will go bankrupt. Tony, this is the most ridiculous statement. I'm not even sure if Sandy said it. I disagree with like a lot of stuff that he says, but this is quite ridiculous. As a matter of fact, if anything, we see that other manufacturers are slowly taking Tesla's share away and are getting better than Tesla in many other ways, whether it's a range or charging speed or the build quality or the number of factories. Just the ID4 by Volkswagen is now made across more factories that Tesla has, just this one model. So I don't think you understand how ridiculously, outrageously wrong this statement is. But I figured, we'll start with a bit of controversy here. Okay, so the interview that I'm talking about has happened. Like I said, they only released like 3 minutes of it, which is kind of weird. But basically, she said that we by mid-century by mid-decade we'll be beating Tesla. Now, let's get one thing straight, that she said that is going to be in the United States. In the United States, Tesla currently, and this is an estimate, like last year they made 350,000 electric cars in the US. Now, in comparison to GM, they only made 25,000. Now, that sounds like a pretty big difference, probably because it is. However, it was due to the fact that they were only making the Bolt, and they weren't really making the Bolt because, the whole catching on fire thing. And now I come to think, okay, how in the world is this going to happen if, they're making 25,000 a year, Tesla's making 3. Tesla just built 2 more factories. Now, obviously, Berlin factory is not in play here because we're talking about the US. However, it's only so now Tesla has 2 factories if you think about the manufacturing, plus the Nevada one for the battery. So here's another one that says all around the metaverse, NFT gaming, GM is going bankrupt. Okay, well, so I'll tell you why this is not necessarily true. I'm not saying, by the way, for a company to go bankrupt, it is really, 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 really hard, especially for a giant like this, especially in the US, where they're probably going to get bailed out if that ever happens again. So that statement is just as ridiculous as the previous one, but you guys really need to start thinking, with let's just sprinkle some facts on this, right? So there are some things that GM does have going for them this year. Now, they have fixed the problem with the Bolt. The Bolt, it is, and they've updated. If you guys haven't, if you haven't seen, Bolt has a new look, which is not as horrible as the previous one. Here it is. It also has a EUV version, and the new price in going into the next year is 25,600. That's the starting price. That's pretty damn good for an electric car that's on a second generation. I actually like it inside a lot. I just don't like the outside, but the inside, it's great. I used to have a Volt and it was great. 259 miles on the new non-flammable or fire catching battery. And so this is a great proposition. So once they finally figure this out, I can see how they can start really making these babies in large amounts. Especially, they're building another factory. They have the partnership with LG. So that is just that alone will definitely put them back on the map. Now they got to get to 50 or 100,000 of these a year, which I do think that they can actually make. I actually think that this is not a far-fetched fantasy land. So, that's one. But look at everything else that they're doing that actually is really, really. I don't think that people even know how many impressive things that GM is doing. Now, I'm not a fan of Mary Barra. Don't get me wrong. I think she's just the wrong person. As a matter of fact, if anything, I think Herbert Dees, who became available, would be a great replacement for her. Right? She's just not. She's a great person, by the way. Met her in person. She's really, really awesome. Red Wings fan, just like I am. But is just not fast enough. I think Herbert Dees actually would be a great replacement for her because he will get things going very quickly. And there are quite a few things that GM has going on. And I'll tell you why this is actually might, if they do everything right, which they don't have a good record of, might actually pan out. Maybe not 2025, but I can definitely think they can be a contender. Now, before I tell you what these are, and I have a super chat from Mark to get to, a quick reminder that this video is brought to you by CCAN. Tired of waiting for a Rivian electric truck? Well, get a chance to win a free one this summer and help a scrappy nonprofit fight climate change. To buy your raffle tickets, use the link in the description of this video. There's a very few of them left, so hurry up. And by Energy Pal. Want to lower your energy bill and make sure that it doesn't go up for years and years as your neighbors pay more and more with annual increases? Let Energy Pal custom design a solar solution for your house that will cost you nothing up front. As a matter of fact, you'll get an exclusive $500 gift card when your installation is complete, simply for being an E4Electric viewer, as long as you'll use the link in the description of this video. Love both of these sponsors. Actually, you have a video with Energy Pal where you can see how we go over whether or not your house actually is going to benefit from it. All right, so check those out in a description of this video. But I have a super chat to get to. Mark with $5. That's a good start for my Chipotle. All right, Mark says they still won't tell me when I'm getting my replacement battery. So is it fixed? I still love the car. So first of all, I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of the Chevy Bolt exterior, whether it's previous or new. However, interior and what you get for that money is really good. And I don't know a single Chevy Bolt owner who doesn't love their Chevy Bolt. Just like I never known a Chevy Volt owner, I'm a previous Chevy Volt owner, who didn't love the Chevy Volt. So this car will continue selling, and I think it will be selling more and more, especially because of the newer price and because of the new look and EUV version. So yes, even though they fixed, when they say they fixed the problem, they know what's wrong with the damn car. So now they're rolling out the batteries to a lot of you guys who are still waiting. Now, don't forget, you're getting a really good deal because not only are you getting new battery, you're getting a new warranty, you're also getting a longer range. All of this is for free. So I'm not saying, but now it's a BS what you guys gone through throughout all this time. But I'm just saying they're moving on. They're now making these cars again. So if we're just talking about numbers, the numbers will really ramp up for the Bolt sales. That's what I'm saying. But I really hope you get yours soon, and enjoy all of the free range, Mark. I really appreciate the super chat. All right, now let's talk about all of the cars that they actually have coming out. And let me tell you, when legacy manufacturer tells you that they have a new model, usually it comes out within a year. And when they tell you the delivery started this time, the COVID stuff aside, it usually is right on the money. It's not like when Rivian or Lucid or Tesla say, yeah, we have a great new car, sure, next year, yeah, and then you wait for 3 or 4 years for the model. That's not how GM and others operate, and that's actually a plus to them for being a legacy automaker. So it is now they have a bunch of new cars that are coming out. So for example, this is a Blazer EV, and the Ryan of the Kilowatts, the guest that I'm going to have in a few minutes, has checked this one out in person. We're going to ask him about that. So the Blazer will start at $45,000. In the more expensive one will be coming out in a year, which is a year. And then the cheapest one will be coming out in the winter of 2024, but still before 2025, right? 247 to 320 miles of range. That's a pretty decent car if you ask me. And so don't forget, these cars are all that are coming out, all going to be under what Tesla is actually going for. So the cheapest Tesla right now is 47,000, right? Which is a Model S. What Model 3 rear-wheel drive. Now, I have another video, which is a whole new topic about the bill that looks like just about to pass, that will completely revamp the credit, the EV tax credit, which really actually will become a point of sale rebate, I would say. So it is it is a big deal, and GM will benefit from it way more than definitely Tesla. Tesla may not even be qualified at all again. So, but I have a whole new video about that, so check it out. Now, they also have an Equinox that's coming out in a little over a year, and that's another thing that will start with $30,000. We'll have around 300 miles of range. That's another car that people will absolutely love and buy, and Tesla has no competition there. And as you know, the key to selling a lot of anything is the price, right? The lower your price, the more you're going to be able to sell. GM is kind of pretty good at it, right? Selling cheaper cars. So there's nothing that tells me that this is not going to actually be a huge success. Again, if they don't screw up. Now, everybody obviously is on their back, including me. Nobody's been more on their back than me about the whole catching on fire thing. But several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they've done something very right that will probably feed them up for a long time. One of the key reasons why Tesla has become so successful is because they early on had the partnership with Panasonic, right? That was one of the key to their success, right? Well, GM did the same thing. They partnered up with LG Chem, and they have their own factory together and the battery together. It is being ramped up right now. One of the cars that is on the market right now, the deliveries just started, only Cadillac Lyriq, which is another excellent vehicle. Starts with $63,000. This one qualifies for the EV credit even right now, the tax credit, over 300 miles, 312 to be exact, of EPA range. Every single car that I see that's coming out of GM is going to be a great car for that price range, right? This is a great luxury car, and I love the way it looks. I've seen it in person 2 years ago when they just had a prototype on stage for us, and it is very, very good. So once you start hitting the right points, and once you have to start the right partnerships, it is a really you can really scale. And don't forget, this is the company that can really scale. They have enough money and enough of factories and a lot of people working on it, where it will actually won't take as much time as others would take that are startups. And even for Tesla, right? Now, that's another kind of a big deal. Now, in that interview, she also mentioned that not only the partnership and the cheaper models, it looks like they have, and I have some notes here. They are restreaming, figuring out how to do chips, and it looks like in another couple of years they will streamline. That's the word I was looking for. They will streamline how their chips are made. They will actually make fewer chips that will do more things, so that it won't require as many, and they will have a way bigger control over chips. So it looks like they're learning their lesson, and that is also going to be a big deal. They've kind of learning the lessons 2 or 3 years, behind, but they are learning it. So I gotta say, they are learning their lessons, and I think they're doing the right thing. Now, well, so here's somebody says, this is GM, they will screw it up. And yes, they probably will find a way. But however, I do believe that, again, it's going to depend on whether or not they keep Mary Barra behind the wheel. And also, I feel like even though she's really bad at leading, despite what President Biden told you, but I think she's not that bad at following, right? Like I said, think of another company that's doing these things kind of right, even though with 2, 3, or 4 year delay. And by the way, if you're joining us, Ryan of the Kilowatts is going to join us in a bit. He's got a very different opinion, so that's why I want him in. And by the way, don't forget to follow him. He's got his own YouTube channel. I actually follow him on TikTok a lot, but I put a link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video. But like I said, his TikTok is definitely a must. Same handle. Now, before I bring him in, let's just talk about something also that I think is very important. Everyone's peeing their pants over F-150 Lightning, and I just drove one for a week. Great truck. Not that I'm anybody who you should listen to about trucks. I'm not a truck guy. But don't forget, F-150 Lightning is essentially a conversion product from Ford. And that's why they were able to go to market before the Cybertruck and before the Silverado. But once again, the way GM is following is correct. This is a Silverado. It is in every single way, pretty much in every single spec, better than F-150 with the same starting price, and it's built on its own electric platform where Ford will have to figure out how to do that. They are actually behind there. So that yet another vehicle, this one's coming out in next spring, so about a year behind the Rivian and the F-150 Lightning. However, it will be there, and it will be better than in many different ways than the F-150 Lightning, and it will start, just like I said, around $40,000 and 400 miles. 400 miles over. My biggest problem with F-150 Lightning is really just the range. 400 miles is not bad. To me, it's the minimum that's acceptable for a truck. And of course, don't forget, they do have a Hummer EV, which to me, if I was to buy a pickup truck, an electric pickup truck, and even let's say Cybertruck is on the market, I would go for the Hummer EV, if I am super rich and can afford anything. It is, to me, by far the best. It's got also a lot of torque, 0 to 60 or 3 seconds. Not that I need that. I usually get very, I get a headache. I get nauseous like an old man. So I don't, but it is an excellent electric vehicle and a symbol of how we are leaving the gas powered vehicles behind. So let me. Okay, well, Keith is asking a very interesting. Do I have a TikTok? You spelled TikTok incorrectly, by the way. But also, I have like 500,000 subscribers there. I slowed down a little bit because honestly, I don't really make money there, so it's more of a hobby for me. And a lot of times, I would go to media drives and car shows and put stuff up there. Obviously, that's slowed down. Even things are back. I'm no longer being invited as much, and probably will never be invited to most of the car manufacturer media drives. They get very sensitive to me talking truth about them. Rivian for example, has completely banned me. GM also. Ryan just went. Because of videos like this. Because of videos like this is because I say, well, I think your CEO should be fired. So Volkswagen is probably mad at me for my video from last week. So basically, I'm going to be just living right here in my four walls while Ryan and other YouTubers will enjoy the media drive from now on. So, all right, guys. So let's, so my TikTok handle is the same, E for Electric Enjoy. If you scroll all the way to the beginning, you'll see me doing silly TikTok dances, which, by the way, I am not embarrassed about whatsoever. Anyway, listen, let's bring Ryan in. The link to his channel is in the description. Honestly, one of the most entertaining and best up and coming YouTubers out there. He goes out and I feel like he's pretty fair. I think, well, we're going to ask him in a second. I think he's very much a big Tesla fan, but he owns a bunch of other cool electric cars. Anyway, let's bring him in. Ryan, how are you, my friend?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So so besides your YouTube channel and the TikTok, which by the way, I love watching TikTok, your TikTok in particular. What are the? I know you're doing a lot of other things, and you own quite a few electric vehicles. I don't know if your count is close to Jay Leno's, but nevertheless, do tell.
I might have more electrics than him.
That is probably true.
Yeah. So right now I've got a bunch of Teslas, mostly Model Ys. I've got a couple Model 3s that I manage. And then I had a Mustang Mach-E, which is one thing you're probably thinking of. And then I have a Rivian R1T. I almost bought a second, but that's a whole struggle I went through last week. I didn't realize, with cars and bids, they want you to close within 7 days. So unfortunately, because I was selling my Model S, concurrently, I ended up losing out on that. So I sold my Model S. Did not get the second R1T, but I am in line to get a Model X starting next week. So yeah, a lot of moving parts on the shared Turo fleet. That's the important reference point, is that I share my cars on Turo. So that's justifies having all these different EVs.
All right, and tell the audience what do you do on TikTok and especially YouTube right here.
Yeah. So my intention with YouTube is basically to help educate and inform and show, whether it be reviews, if I've got the opportunity to go to media drives, quick reviews go on there as well. But just trying to help people understand what that experience of owning different EVs might be with kind of longer form reviews, and especially if I have the chance to own these vehicles. Share them and then review them. Give people a really sense what the accelerated life looks like of some of these cars, and kind of similar with TikTok, catch that attention, highlight certain parts of the car that are either good or bad, kind of an abridged version of what you might see in my YouTube videos.
All right, and you just went to drive or just check out the Blazer EV, correct?
Correct. Yes.
How did that go?
It went all right. I appreciate that what they're doing there, and it seems like they basically made the Lyric and actually even already took a few learnings from the Lyric and put it into the Blazer. And I think from an aesthetic standpoint, the Blazer is really stunning. I think they did a good job with the design, making it something that I think a lot of people are going to be attracted to, especially this SS version. The lower versions, I think, look a little bit like the older Bolt or Volt, and I don't love that. I don't think they've got the best reputation with the Bolt program. So I don't think they would want that parallel to be drawn. But overall, I think it looks great. I think it's relatively comfortable. The ceiling was a little bit low in the rear. That was something that, as someone who's like 5'9", maybe 5'10" on a good day, the fact that my head was so close to the ceiling on either right or left passenger, that was a little bit concerning.
So you were talking about the back seat, right?
Yeah, I'm just jumping into the back seat was just a little bit uncomfortable.
I honestly don't understand why people care so much about it. At most, they will put their moving boxes over there or their kids. I don't.
But kids get tall,
huh?
Kids get tall. I was 5'8", 5'9" when I was 16.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, this is just such a little thing. But anyway, so actually, the reason I asked you was that you're not that big of a fan of GM. You're pretty critical of it, right?
And that's I jumped right into the criticisms because I feel like they aren't thinking as holistically as some other companies might.
Now, when do you think you will be being banned from the media drives like I am? I guess is my next question.
I hope to never be. I don't.
You better like this brand then much more than you do right now.
I'll tell you, and again, kind of like you, I always try to just present my opinions honestly and truthfully. And that was one odd thing when I was down at GM, is as I was leaving, someone from their team was asking me my thoughts on the car. And I was like, well, there's a lot that we don't know here yet. You say you're going to offer it with 320 miles of range. You say it goes 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds. But like, we don't know if that's the same vehicle. We don't know if, these wider tires are still going to get that range that you're claiming. And I kind of pushed back. I'm like, I can't give you a higher rating at this time because we just don't know yet. And I think that that's fair. And I think that if they choose to stop including me and based on what you're saying, that's, they should want accurate, generally positive criticisms. And my approach with the Kilowatts is always to be like encouraging. Like, if someone in the audience here is like, I'm going to buy a Chevy Blazer EV, I'm going to be really happy for them because that's probably the best car for them. They've done their research. That's the truth for them. But I try to approach like, this bell curve of what do I think people want. And hopefully I hit that. If GM feels like I'm not hitting that, then I would understand them removing me. But if they feel like, I'm making lies, like, basically, I'm just going to bring out as much honesty as I can while getting excited about EVs. And if that doesn't work out for me, then it doesn't work out for me. That's how I see it.
Well, I think I'm quite fair to all of the brands. I mean, I think it's, as a journalist, it's my job to actually point out what the problems are. Otherwise, we can just copy and paste their press releases. And yeah, it went pretty badly with Rivian, with GM, with quite a few of them. I'm just letting you know that, enjoy while it lasts if you're going to be this critical.
Exactly. No, and I giving them on my TikTok, I rated them a D plus, and I don't think they're going to like that. But again, the car is not yet at market yet, and there's a lot of things that I think that they're claiming that I don't yet see in the vehicles that they showed us. So I easily could see that vehicle getting up to the point where it's like a low B, with the right delivery, it could get up there. But in my mind, if a car is not yet available yet and you can't even show it and you're saying it next year, that's going to get a lower rating. That's just the way that it is. I'm trying to get people to, when they look at my TikToks, they know what to buy or what to like wait for. And in my mind, right now, the Blazer is not worth waiting for with other comparable products already on the market that would be better if those specs were real. So that's why I'm like, until you deliver it, I can't give you a better rating. The Mustang Mach-E is better than what the Blazer is today, and you can get it today.
Yeah, no, that I actually agree. But okay. So before we go to the actual interview, because I think that's quite an interesting statement that she made, and like I said, she may not be as delusional as I thought in the beginning. But it's interesting how, like, when we review cars and something, like I said, like, I can't stand the outside of the bolt, but some people absolutely love it and they love the car. So, like, I guess my opinion, as expert as it could be, it doesn't really matter. However, also, I just noticed that people love the EV6 by Kia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I only recently, it was 2 weeks ago when I finally got the car, because again, no, oh no, Kia did invite me. I just had COVID, so that's why I didn't go. So so I finally got it in my driveway. It's and I was excited because everybody was like, I love EV6. Like, I'm like, yeah, specs say it's great. So I finally got it. Ryan, it's the very first a loaner car, the media car that I've ever gotten, where I asked them to come and pick it up early. I just could not stand this piece of crap any longer. It is so bad in every single way. Except, the range and the charging is great, right? Like, when you look at the specs, that's great. Yeah. But I was like, to me, it was awesome. But some people love that car. Everything that I think is crap there, they love it. So, just to show how, I always, when people ask me, like, well, what kind of EV I should buy, it's like it's the same thing as asking what kind of girl you should marry, so it always comes down to looks and budget. I've noticed. But all right.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting because part of our job is to, like, report on the stats, and part of our job is to give our opinions on those stats. And so it's an interesting thing where, like, yeah, the EV6 in many ways is great, but in many ways maybe it's not so great. I am surprised to hear that you didn't like it as much, because I did like it, and I also like the Ioniq 5, and I wonder if and the Genesis I've not had a chance to experience yet. But
honestly, man, I know I want to talk about the GM, but I got to tell you, like, for example, I am a short guy. I'm 5'8" on a good day, all right? And yet, when I just was driving and I needed to flip the sun visor, it hit me in my big Jewish nose, and that shouldn't be happening. Secondly, when I couldn't connect my Android Auto to save my life through the cord, through the Bluetooth, with a prayer, without a prayer, couldn't connect it, that should not happen. Sure, the fact that I can mute my sound, come back into the car, and it's unmuted. It doesn't remember any settings. That's pretty bad. The starting screen Like, when it just comes up on a screen, it's blank. It's almost blank, and I don't even know what to do. You're supposed to swipe it to the left to get to the actual menu.
Yeah,
The back
these are fair
seats, the way they
criticisms.
fold, they don't jig and jiggle, they fold. But I mean, holy crap! Like, I couldn't figure out. Apparently, there's a lever. They decided to reinvent how back seats fold. Every single little thing that I tried to do was so painful that I honestly, man, said, I don't want to. I can't drive this car anymore. And so it's the first one that I send it back. And I've driven some not the best EVs, but anyway, listen, I'll work the rest of it out in therapy. But let's get to
Sure.
Mary Barra's interview.
Yeah.
Let's just get your original, just a response to, she says that by essentially 2025, let's give our next 3 year 2026, in the US, GM will make more electric vehicles than Tesla. In 2021, Tesla made around 350,000 for the US, and obviously with the whole Bolt fiasco, GM only ended up with 25,000. What's your initial reaction to that?
My initial reaction, which I should put on the guise of, I worked at Tesla for a few years. I've seen how they operate. If they were to stay still, I could see that being the case. But I don't think Tesla's staying still. I wouldn't be surprised if even as early as tomorrow, there's more factories announced by Tesla, US and otherwise. Tesla is full throttle on scaling themselves, and they've had years of practice scaling already. Back when I was there, until the start of the pandemic, 2020, a lot of the conversations were about scaling teams, scaling resources, and scaling factories. So I would be a little bit surprised if a company that has maintained for several years, I'm just like talking like in principle, if you've maintained your way of being for several years, and now you're trying to tell all those same people we need to suddenly change and scale a different type of manufacturing, I don't see it. Now, if you got your manufacturing lines, if you really stopped making gas vehicles and you found ways to convert your manufacturing lines, okay. So just from without even looking at the numbers, without even looking at sales and demand and the products, I just find that claim hard to digest, because you're talking about a company that's known for scaling and ramping up and year over year growing. And on top of that, I've got to say that GM, their products don't knock my socks off. Now, they don't have to. You can make cheaper products. You can make products that people believe in more in a bunch of different ways. But in my mind, you've got to make exciting products. And the Lyriq is very good. The Blazer might also be very good. But I'm not blown away by either. The Hummer is exciting, but it's low volume. So that's where my head's at. I just don't see it happening.
So you know what, I'm kind of was thinking the same way at first, but then I kind of started looking, down the list of what they got going on, and I think she's a really bad leader. And you're right, anything can happen, right? Tesla can announce a factory, but GM can announce that they bringing in Herbert Diess to run the company, and then things change there as well. I think she's a horrible leader, but I think she's actually a pretty good follower. So I think it's before I even saw you in the green room. I don't know if you were listening, but just the fact that they're going to offer 4 or 5 models just in the next couple of years, and they're pretty affordable, most of them, right? Because and I might actually propose to you that you want a dull product, because most people want to drive dull cars. The Chevy Bolt is a pretty dull car. Most people who buy cars buy a dull car because honestly, they're not into them as much as we are, you and I, and definitely not you. They just want to get to A to B, drop off their kids, and pick up their McDonald's on the way to the point B, and be able to use the car and not drown in car payments. So the boring Equinox and the boring Blazer EV might just be what you need to do to beat Tesla in the number, not the profits, not the excitement, not the fart apps, but in the number of vehicles.
The sheer number
They
of
got
vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah, they got LG Cam, which I think was really, really good idea. They're actually making a pretty good step forward with the chips. Their partnership with EVgo is actually pretty good compared to others, because it's an actual partnership. They're building them together. And don't forget, this new tax bill is going to heavily favor GM and almost not at all favor Tesla. So with all of these things that I just kind of mentioned, and I think there's a few other ones on my list, do you think that just as far as producing these little suckers may just work out for them?
I want to say yes, but I still don't see it because additional models is additional complexity, and I don't know how many engineers they have working in manufacturing, anything like that. But I don't think you need additional models. And this is one of the biggest issues that Tesla had when they added the Model X to the manufacturing line, was that it slowed production of the Model S, and you're overall just struggling more. So in my mind, I'm very much of the camp: make fewer, better, and manage your costs products rather than more, wider, differentiated products. I somewhat agree with what you're saying with dull products, but I might substitute the word dull for inexpensive. People don't really want this Hummer. They want someone that they know to have this Hummer. They're not going to pay for that. And then all the other products that GM is making, it feels as if they're pegging everything to what everyone else is doing, as you're saying, as a follower, and you don't end up exceeding as a follower. You don't end up beating as a follower because people aren't as and I do think the dollars have to matter. Like the Blazer, I think, might be a little bit too expensive for what it delivers by the time that it delivers it. So again, most people are going to be buying Mustang Mach-E's. They're not going to justify getting to those manufacturing numbers.
Right, but the Mustang Mach-E and the Teslas, they may not qualify with that sweet $7,500, instant rebate, not even a tax credit anymore, and that will sway, right? But at the same time, I always think of it as an iPhone and Android, right? So an iPhone is, to me, still by far a better product than pretty much any Android. I mean, I did just get my new whatever the hell is this as a Pixel latest, whatever, 6A, but but Android is outselling. There's way more Android phones have been sold than iPhone phones because a lot of them are budget phones. They're cheap. They're $200, $300.
Let me push back on this.
Sure.
Android phones, yes, that's the software, but that's almost like saying non-Teslas. So that's everyone versus Tesla.
Yeah, no, and granted, I wasn't so much pointing out as an example of more of an analogy where selling cheaper stuff actually sells more stuff, even though the goal is not to create something amazing, right? The amazing part is in the value, I would say.
Sure. And I hear you on that. I guess, again, my response would be exactly like my response would be exactly what I just said, that like I feel as if GM and Ford and all these others collectively will probably make more than Tesla, EVs than Tesla. That seems very possible. But I feel as if Tesla is going to just keep on growing in the same way that Apple is Apple for a reason. When we say Android, we might be referring to Samsung, we might be referring to Motorola, we might be referring to HTC. I don't know if they're even still a brand. And so, you can look at the conglomeration of non-Tesla manufacturers, and you can look at Tesla. And that would be the approach that I would have is, again, they are vertically integrating, scaling. People want them. If Tesla wanted to, their product margins are the highest right now. They could just reduce their price. So if they have to compete, they can just bring down their prices. So Tesla really is the most incentivized to make the most cars right now. GM isn't as incentivized to make as many cars, even when they get that tax incentive.
That I agree with. All right, so why don't we take some questions? And because I see the one that actually I was going to respond to you with, but I might as well respond to this to R. G. Woody. He says, I'm not sure why you're so fascinated with GM and their CEO. Should the CEO not inspire the employees by presenting a vision for them to rally around? Okay, I get really frustrated when I read stuff like that. I literally just said that I believe Mary Barra should be fired, and Herbert Dees would be a replacement. But okay,
Herbert has a vision, absolutely.
You're right, Herbert, and he's a great leader. So I agree with this person. I'm not so much fascinated. I'll tell you where I'm at with this. When I heard her say that, actually I didn't even hear it because somehow they didn't even bother releasing that soundbite, but they ended up writing this article. And so they basically said in this article, here it is, that she said that they're going to be. I at first thought that, oh my God, she is even more delusional than I thought. And then I started, putting research together, and it took a little bit more because Herbert Dees got canned, so that video had to come out first. And the more I was researching, the more I was like, I do no longer think she's delusional. I actually think that's probably not bad for her to say that, because here's the thing. I think me and you might be on the same page in terms of the more great electric cars are out there, and just the more electric cars are out there, the better, right? So I'm rooting for everybody. But, if she sets this goal, there are only two things that might happen. One, she achieves it, and me and you, Ryan, are good, right? Because we're like,
Mhm.
great, more electric cars, more people bought electric cars than gas cars. We're good. They may not be as exciting, they may not be for us, but hey, that's what we want. Two, she doesn't achieve it and gets fired. Then I get my wish. Somebody else comes in and maybe does better. That's all I'm saying, really, is I don't think she's delusional. Do you think there's a relatively good chance that this might actually happen?
I would say either one of those paths is potentially likely. Yeah, yeah. And I I just wonder why they would approach it this way. Like it feels like this follower mentality, and it feels like we're not going to have an answer to that question for a couple of years. Like it just, yeah. I don't see them doing things that are moving and shaking, and it seems like the rest of the industry is aware now that they have to move and shake things.
All right, so here's another question that I'm interested. What do you have to say? Oof, Dad says, do you think the tax credit, if passed, which it looks like it might be, will drive GM to more plug-in hybrids to get to volume of hybrids and keep their ICE investments alive longer? What do you
Ooh.
think, Ryan?
Oh, I wish I knew. I've not actually looked at the newest version of the tax bill, so I don't have an answer to that at this point. I didn't realize that hybrids were a part of it in a significant way.
Well, I think he's talking about like plug-in hybrids.
Yeah, yeah, but I still don't know. Like, would they qualify for the same full 7,500? Um, yeah, I would hope not, but yeah, I haven't looked at it in that way yet.
All right, let's get another one. This is from Sam, all caps. So, Sam, frustration-filled interview after realizing that no one can beat Tesla. ID crap is also going down the drain. So, first, Sam, just quick follow-up question for you. What color Tesla do you have? This always comes from Tesla fans. No other EV owner ever says anything like that. But I don't know. Are you frustrated, Ryan? I'm not frustrated. I'm enjoying this actually.
Yeah, no, I'm not frustrated. I think the only part of this that like I find interesting is like, yeah, exactly as you're saying, where Tesla fans seem to be narrow focused on only Tesla. I am a Tesla fan. And I recognize that the ID4 is great for a certain audience. I recognize also like the EV6 and Ionic 5 are great in their own right. Like I am trying to again get excited for whatever people want to buy. And so if they don't like a Tesla for whatever reason, there is probably another great EV for them. Again, the F-150 Lightning, the Rivian, like there's a lot of great EVs out there. And I think when we just like, yeah, the ID4 software on the infotainment is a little bit weird. And that's kind of true, actually, honestly, of the Ionic 5 and EV6. There's some weird menus. But like, how many people are actually clicking through those menus? Like these are still great in my mind, great EVs for the right audience, especially at their prices. So I'm not going to insult it because it's not what I would buy. I just have chosen not to buy an ID4 yet.
Yeah. I'm an ID4 driver. I'm quite happy with it, except for how
Oh, now I need to
long it takes.
insult you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so and by the way, actually, ID brand is doing really well. I mean, those are the sales are going up and up and up. The buzz is coming. So actually, I think as much as little as the Sam is excited about it, unfortunately, numbers tell you that. And don't forget Volkswagen Group. That brand, I absolutely believe, will beat Tesla in number of electric cars produced per year globally by 2025, or be very, very close. Um, I it does look that way. Just I mean, like I said, ID4 is made over more factories than Tesla has altogether. So they just got too much money, and they have so many cars coming out and already on the road. I think it won't be. And again, a lot of them are going to be relatively cheap, which is ID3 and a few others. They have Skoda brand. They have Audi and Porsche and Volkswagen brand. There's just too many brands and too many relatively affordable cars coming out and all of these factories they have. But okay, you'll shake. Go.
Well, yeah, I'm just like I am very much again a fan of Tesla here, and I do think that they are scaling. And if you treated each one of these companies in a lot of ways that people don't, if you treated it as the starting line is making one EV, and the finish line is 100% of the market. I don't think that most of these American companies are approaching those volumes that you seem to be like thinking that they'll reach, or even like Volkswagen. Like the Chinese companies are approaching Tesla's numbers, but no one else is really even approaching Tesla's numbers yet. And yes, they could switch over, but until they actually like any one of these American companies could, in my mind, pass Tesla if they stopped making gas cars today. The problem is they're still devoting their resources. They're still half in, half out. Ford, a company that I think is doing a lot of great things in the EV space, still has their, we're still going to keep on taking care of all these gas cars, and we're still, you got to let it go, and you've got to use that manufacturing prowess and really dive in. And I recognize now that takes a little bit of time, but I don't think that companies like GM are actually that committed. They're not going to take half of their gas lines off the market. They need to switch, and they're not going to do that until 3 or 4 years down the road and seeing the fruits of their labor start to make profit. That's how these companies run, is based on profit. But you've got to look at where the market's going. No one's going to want your gas cars in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, I think it's not just about the factories. First of all, like I said, Volkswagen Group just has too many factories, but also they will be offering the cars at the lower price point, and that's the key to actually selling more. To me, it's just literally the less your car costs, the more. The ID4, 35 grand plus the tax credit, in another few months, what's going to happen with their factory. They'll just sell more just because, the cheapest Tesla is 46 grand. I'm not saying ID4 is that much better or worse or whatever. That's personal preference. I'm just talking about numbers, honestly.
Yeah. No, but I just think that like in order to do that, you have to be making money. And as we've heard with Ford, the Mustang Mach-E is not making them any more money. And so they're not incentivized to sell the Mustang Mach-E as they've made historically. So they already, like 2 years into that program, need to pivot it. They need to find some other way to approach that vehicle, or they're going to sunset the Mustang Mach-E in a couple of years.
Let me move on to another question. This is a super chat from Jake. It's $5. So now I can afford my Chipotle meal, where I'm going straight to there after this. He says, Ultium modularity, man, I hate when people make me pronounce long words, will allow diversity in product for less R&D costs than most other, than maybe Volkswagen. Why are you guys understanding this?
Underestimating, I think.
Underestimating this. I see. I knew it. I knew that the big long words would be the death of me. Okay, so I don't think I'm underestimating. I said that's the fact that they partner up with LG Chem is one of the biggest things why I think they will do well. And by the way, don't get me started on Ultra Cruise. Their Super Cruise is awful, but that's just my opinion. Ryan, what do you think?
Ultium has potential, but I think that there's like a lot of brand name in Ultium, and I think that that a lot of companies do this. You come up with an idea and you give it a name and it sounds great, but in my opinion, like how is the Ultium platform modularity different than what Tesla's doing? How is it different than it's allowing for all these diverse vehicles? Great, but is it really making for scalable vehicles? Is it really I don't know. In my mind, and you go back to like the Blazer and the Lyriq are kind of more different than the Model 3 and Model Y. And so because Tesla didn't throw a name on what they called the skateboard that the Model 3 and Model Y were, we're not talking about them in the same context. But yeah, I don't think that just making it Ultium, like the Lyriq is a very different car than the Hummer is. And it's got, basically 2 battery packs stacked. What even is Ultium at that point? Like you have significantly different engineering architectures there. Technically, they're using similar battery design. Is it the most cost effective? Is it the best for the consumer? I don't know that it's the best for anything other than marketing.
Well, I think in my case, and I wanted to move to one more topic because we're running out of time. But in my case, it's not even what it is. It's just the fact that they've partnered up with a big name that will
Yes,
absolutely produce the batteries specifically for them. The supply chain will probably be the best it possibly can on a large scale, and they're doing something right, which essentially they're copying what Tesla did with
Tesla
Panasonic
and
10 years
Panasonic.
ago. Thus, Mary Barra being a good follower. But I think this is a great idea that they have. What they do with it, we'll see. So far, it looks good, but we need to see it on the road.
I guess the biggest concern I have is how much they sunk cost into Ultium. Again, if the Blazer's not coming until next year, then like again, Ultium is going to become outdated if Tesla is successful with its 4680 stuff. We could see much more efficient vehicles. And I don't know. I mean, they claim that they should be able to, but how quickly can Ultium pivot? That's really in
Yeah, well,
five
I'm
years. What does
sure.
Ultium look like? Is what matters to me.
But what you said earlier also applies to all other companies. I'm sure they're not sitting on their hands either, especially, LG Chem is definitely moving forward on their own because they have to. And I think that's the benefit for the GM, that they now have an adult supervision over there saying, we need to move forward. We need to improve on chemistry. We need to try new technology. So I think that's the benefit, that LG Chem is pushing them to go, faster than they might want or could.
I
Um,
hope.
all right, now I have another question for you, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. But before that, let me address a very important question. And this is probably one of the most fun. Uh, DJ Food Stamps says, $5 for Chipotle? No way, especially in the Bay Area. You need at least 15. So first of all, don't forget I already got another $5 super chat, so that makes it 10. That's good for the bowl. And you're right. I just moved from Sacramento to Oakland, and everything, including Chipotle, is more expensive. Now, I haven't shared it with my audience yet. I'm actually thinking about moving out of the United States by the end of the year. So I'll just tell you that, the pricing might change for me in the near future. But let's get back to Ryan before we run out of time.
Too
Uh,
funny.
so I know. So last week I had John of the Silicon Valley Tesla Club, and I know you were one of the people to interview Elon Musk. And I know this wasn't really your interview. You weren't in, but let me ask you this, since you were there. You know, every time somebody interviews Elon Musk, it's usually someone who is either a fan, there was a third row Tesla and stuff like that, or a journalist that knows it's a favor to them. And the questions that are being asked is always very different that I would ask, right? Um, did you, in a perfect world, if you were in control of that interview and you could ask a question, would you have asked maybe a few different questions? And even though you're a fan of Elon Musk, would you have addressed some things that he did or said or done that did it done the same thing, but for the drama effect, that a real one, like, Elon, I love you, but why the fuck did you do that? Like, would you have, and what would it be?
I would like to believe that if you've seen that interview, that I asked some of the more challenging questions, and so I hear what you're saying, and especially like we broke that interview out into three parts. If you look at it, the first part was kind of like asking Elon the questions he wanted to be asked, and then as it got further in, we just kind of were chatting about life. And I think the reason why we took it there, and the reason why at least the questions I asked were more big picture, was we John and I and the rest of the team had talked the previous night about like what we wanted to achieve with this interview. And we can ask the hard-hitting Tesla fan questions of what's coming next. And that was to some degree what a lot of what John and the Silicon Valley Owners Club had fielded, was a lot of the Tesla fans wanted to know what's coming next. So I said, okay, but if Elon wanted to say those things, he already would have. He'd tweet them. I wanted to get at the heart of who the man is. Why does he approach things the way that he does? Because I think that helps enumerate like how and why we end up in these situations. Elon's done a lot of dumb stuff. And the way that I see him, which, call me a Tesla fanboy, call me an Elon fanboy, is he is a human in a really deep sense. And he's a human without guardrails. Most CEOs, most of these companies approach the world with significant guardrails, lawyers, PR teams. Elon has decided those things do not benefit him, and whether or not he's right about that, only time will tell. But he's solely focused on his way of approaching the world. causes a lot of problems, but also causes a lot of progress. So my intent with that interview was not to ask individual hard-hitting questions. Why did you call that one guy a pedo guy back in the day? Why did you, sleep with this many people and have this many kids? It's more of what is your, and I asked him,
And by
I was
people,
very
you
fortunate.
mean employees.
There,
You know?
sure. I mean, absolutely. One of
Yeah.
those people was an employee at various times, and I actually know that person and know that from years ago when I talked to her about Elon, just how fond of Elon she is. That was
Um,
not just like
I could
Elon.
tell. Yes. Yes.
Sure, but I could tell years ago, and so in general, like if you and I worked at any random paper company and fell in love with someone that we worked with, obviously we were not the boss, but I think that Elon just treats himself as anyone else in the company, and that for better or for worse, these things come about as just being him. So I appreciate who he is. Again, I asked the existential question of like, how do you see the world? Why do you approach the world the way you do? And to me, that helps get the answers to the other questions.
All right. Now, listen, we only have like a couple of minutes left. First of all, I want to say thank you to the $50 super chat, which I think is just there's no message there except for the Shiba dog jumping up and down in the chat room. But I don't even know how much in American dollars it is, but I appreciate it. I'm sure I can afford at least a side of guac on that. But
Hey, maybe give me some.
absolutely, man. Next time, a Chipotle is on me. Absolutely. Plus, we live pretty
Sounds
close
great.
now that I moved. Before I move out, okay.
Yeah.
Listen, really quick before we finish. I mean, we can talk for a long time, and I hope you come back and do this again. Tell us again a little bit where people can find and what kind of content you're putting out.
Yep. So I'm on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. I also rent cars on Turo. And basically, my goal with all my content, with everything I do, is accessibility and information. I try to make electric cars available and accessible to people through Turo. And I try to increase information about EVs through YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, wherever else, Instagram. Yeah,
All
a
right,
whole
man.
lot.
Well, I put a link in the description of the video to your YouTube channel. They should subscribe, but I also recommend your TikTok because, like, I'm a fan and a subscriber. So, thanks so much for joining me. And I hope we'll do this again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. All right, guys. It is always good to have. When I say always, this was the first time. I don't know why this was the first time to have a Ryan, but like I said, do follow him. I love his TikToks. Like just a lot of interesting perspective. So to me, it's very interesting that he is obviously a big Tesla fan, but he's also a fan of other electric cars, and he owns other electric cars, and it has a pretty good experience and also very knowledgeable guy, as you can see. If you watch this interview, honestly, like I'm just preaching to a choir, hopefully at this point. So, all right, well, thank you to Ryan. Don't forget, I do this every week except for next week. Next week, I'm going to do it on a Tuesday because I'm flying to Vegas. And taking the day off. So we're going to do this on Tuesday. Maybe we'll hit a bit of a different audience. I don't know who the guest is going to be. Of course, you're welcome to suggest that. So thank you to all of the super chatters. And thank you to, of course, the sponsors, the Energy Pal and Seeken. The links to those are in the description of this video. Other than that, see you guys next time. And remember to stay charged.